I'm going to read to you from one of my books, The Grip, which translates into Ditlina in my native Sesotho. In parts of The Grip, you will hear my grandmother's voice. Don't do this, don't do that, which are commands and reminders to myself to be true to who I am. Even in the noise of overseas life and in the fading beats of the African drum, I hear the retiring drum beat and the pounding of the mallet, which are their voices. Each of the stories in The Grip have something to let go of. What is it to let go is the sole purpose of my invitation to you, to your copy of the book, in a language you're comfortable reading in. Much gratitude to my son, MC Mohlakola, and artist who created the book cover. The chilling effect that sometimes comes with holding on could not be better displayed. Thank you to Tarissa Warr for editing portions of this book from 2009 intermittently till 2011. Finally, the pieces came together. The book is available in English and Sesotho to start, but it will be available in French and Spanish within the next 2 months. All rights reserved. Joyful Leaps, July 18, 2007. Running to school in winter was a must. My friends and I held tightly onto our hot stones and ran to school before our stones got cold. These stones we threw under Mema Baren's tripod so that they would warm us up. Every morning she made fresh fire under a huge homemade beer drum. Mema Baren had 4 daughters and 2 sons. 2 of the daughters worked for the government. One worked for Interior Affairs and the other at the passport office. The youngest daughter was Ditswako, my friend. The oldest daughter, Mahlo, I was told, had started primary school with my brother, Sethunya. And years after Sethunya left primary school, she was still there. Then came automatic promotion years and she made it through. During these years, students were allowed to continue from lower standards or grades, regardless of how they did, to proceed to Standard 7 and take final national exams. Those who failed Standard 7 exams could enroll in trade schools. Those who obtained first category and passed had an option to go to the best schools in town. At the time, the best 3 schools within a few minutes of the city center were Mabatoana, St. Catherine, and Lesotho High School. Of course, Mahlo did not go to any of these schools. Her brother Sipho, I had not the slightest idea where he went to school. He and his older brother and a few others waited at the local store corner to chance change from customers leaving the store. They usually approached them with knives, commonly called okapi. The okapi knives they used were clip-ons. They were more curved than straight, a sure sign to hook onto the culprit's skin. Sipho's brother, Qabaqope, had been injured in a stick fight with my father. The fight had occurred because Qabaqope tried to knife my mother coming out of the store. Qabaqope married every other few years while Sipho would disappear and return to the village. Sometimes head wrapped with a white bandage with old blood or with a fresh scar that made his face look like it was pickaxed by some small accident. You would not miss Sipho in a busy crowd. He had a winding, jagged scar that traveled the entire face as though he had been wedged a blunt, rusty saw, leaving uneven debris pockets on the face. This was Sipho. He would look at me once while I waited for my stone under the tripod, and I would feel like he wanted to get me. What this meant exactly, I was not sure, yet I certainly knew how it felt. I remember each morning I went to their tripod and met Ditswako. As usual, I threw my stone under the tripod from across the fence and picked it up when Ditswako came out for school. I remained on the road by the fence. We would pick up our stones at around 7:40 a.m. and run to school while they were still warm. The school was about 3 kilometers away. We ran fast, not talking. Arriving at school, finding a spot for stones under the school kitchen tripods where women busily prepared lunch for students was not easy because everyone competed for the best spots in the middle of the red fire. If the classroom was cold, the teacher would sometimes allow students to sit in the sun for the entire class period. At recess, we raced for the back of the school to the spots with greatest heat and sunlight. The stones remained under the tripods until the final class. The last bell ringing, we would say our Hail Marys with minds already fleeing to the hot stones. These stones would remain hot and warm until we made it home, and there we would wrap up in our blankets and hand-woven hats.